Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
What happens is, whenever you click on something, you click on a data or something, what happens is it basically comes up. Say suppose if I drag column market to columns and say sales to rows. You'll find that, it gives the charts that I desire for, and it gives a bar graph. It tells that bar graph is the most suitable chart for you now. And you can explore with the other things. But then, according to Tableau visualization, query language, it is the bar graph. But it is always customizable from our end. Why it is giving us the by default? This because in marks, you see, we have the setting as automatic. When we have the setting as automatic, it basically gives us the chart that it likes or the chart that it feels that will best represent your data. But then we can always change things. In automatic, if I go and if I convert it to line, you will see that now it has changed in a line graph, and it shows me the data accordingly for the markets of Africa, APSE, Canada, and etc. Now, let's understand what line charts are. And I read somewhere a very good thing that Firstly, in a line chart, the measure and dimensions are along two axes of the chart area. That is very common thing. But one, I was reading the other day and I saw somewhere that someone has written about line chart, and it's very good writing. That is, it's a pair of values for each observation. That becomes a point, and joining all of these points, it creates a line showing the variation of relationship between the dimensions and measurement chosen. It's two things to be noted from here. One is it's a point-to-point join and showing the variation of relationship between the dimensions and measurements. That's fine. When we see that line charts show us trend, or line chart is used whenever I want to see the trend or whenever I want to see. Say you're a sales manager and you're interested for know your years, quarters, months, etc. Line graph helps us, determine what is performing well and what is not performing that well, or what was not performing well but did trend up. However, that's how line graphs work. And then if you go to line always, you'll get the requirements below the graph you choose. If you see, what is written here is for horizontal bars. Try one or more dimensions or one or more measures. Right? We need 0 or more dimensions. We don't need a dimension at all. Like as a minimum thing, we can have one, measure to show the trend between the things. But then of course a dimension is needed because we don't want to blindly see any data. We don't want to blindly see any data. At least we need to. It's not market. We need something like a date. Because we want to see the lines with respect to the dates at least. That's why it is considered. Date measurement is considered separately always. Always, it is not considered among the other dimensions. See, that's why it is showing one date, one measure, but zero dimension. Apart from date, everything is considered as a separate dimension. Date dimension is a separate dimension altogether. It's the same for any BI tool. You will see that you know dimensions, measurements, and date. Dimension is classified. It's all of course a dimension, but then date dimension is always treated separately rather than the other things. In line charts as well, we have discrete and continuous charts, like the one that you see now in the screen. This is basically a discrete chart. Will anyone take a guess why this is a discrete chart? Because it is separated. A discrete is always separated and the continuous is always aggregated. I guess I'm saying this from the first session onwards. I expected an answer. Anyways, discrete is always, bifurcated and it's segmented. It's segregated into various values. However, continuous is something. Continuous data type is something whereby things are aggregated and not separated like this. Let's do something. Let's see, how the suggestions come up. Tabular visualization is something which is a smart tool which basically helps in, doing a lot of things. But and how does it work? See, now what I do is let me choose order, date and sales. And then I'll choose order date and sales in the opposite way. And you will see a different thing already. Let me double click on order date and say, see what happens is Tableau recognizes the dimension first and then the measure. It gives a tabular form, the most basic form. It throws up that this is basically was. This is the basic thing. If you want, there are options thrown up to you. Go ahead and choose whatever you want. But let me remove this and do the same thing using sales first. And this later. See, I've selected the same thing. But the hierarchy was different of choosing. First I took dimensions. Then I took measures. In this one, I first chose measures and then went for dimensions. It suggested a line graph. That's how smart Tableau is. And it basically analyzes every bit of your data and gives you a solution. And I guess that's something which is very unique feature of Tableau. And we, and it recognizes stuff's pretty easy. Next comes a date line detail chart. Now this is a very basic chart. Now, if we want to have a detailed chart using line charts, then let's see how it works. Let me click on sales. Let me click on order date. We have this line. Now let's put category into colors. What happens is, based on category, we get the line charts. Right. We have 3 categories: furniture, office, and technology. And we get things like this. Correct. Now to see further detail, let me put, say, order date to text. And what we see is we saw this as a chart like this, but then now it basically shows me it would have been better if the data had at some down points as well. It is always ever rising kind of a data. Let me see if profit works. This is still better. See what happens is it basically shows me this is also ever rising. I wanted something like where 13 would have fallen. Any that we see that all the categories have risen and every point denotes the year in which it is showing. Visually it is much more. Visually it is much more, helping me to understand that in which point, how it is rising. Now, if you want to customize the looks and if you want let me put, say suppose, sales as well over here. Now the line chart basically represents the categories. It now has the years and it also has the profit and it is showing up in the labels. Now, say suppose someone who is lame in name in Tableau dashboarding or say lame in terms of data and they always want textual thing to understand that this is not how my chart should look or I am confused with this number. What is this number? In that case, what you can do is you can add additional formatting details in here whereby you can click on label and you can click on these three dots that you see over here like this, and over here there comes the texts. Over here what you can do is you can write, say suppose sales is this and year is this. See, once you drag in year and profit over here, Tableau has a background in the background. It is converted into formulas, right? It's that show this. Show the results based on this formula, year, order date and sum of sales like this. What I've done is before the bracket I've added the text that year is this, sales is this. And if I apply, see what happens is it tells me year is 2013 and sales is this much. That's how you can customize your the text that you want to. However you want to, you can do it like this. That's all about the adding the details. That's how it works. Let me remove. Now let's look at another example. Let's remove category and let me put market over here. See for market as well. There are 7 markets for all the 7. We have the data like this, that comes right. Now let me just remove the label. Now one thing is if you want to make it much more complicated or something you can go and do something. Say, suppose I want to mark it and I put it like this. What happens is if we do this, chart has become very big anyways. The point is not that. The point is if we add market to this part of the chart, what happens is we have, or let me not do this, let me remove the entire thing and let me pull this. Order date like this. Sales order date in market like this. It was right like this right now. If I put market it into this, that's that. This is what I was aiming to show you, that what happens is, if you do this, what happens? One market comes beside the other for the different values of years, and it basically gets split. Different sections are created. Whenever different sections are created, there is no link between one market and the other market, correct? Similarly, if you pull market to over here, you will see a horizontal distribution of the markets, and it is segmented. Basically, it gets segmented, and each segment will. You can do like each segment wise analysis or something. And if you want to do it, want to see like how things are when we see the entire data together, you can remove like this, and you can see the way I show you. That's about the detailing part of a line. Now comes the third thing, and which is the most important thing in line charts, is continuous versus discrete. Continuous versus discrete is something which is really important when you are working with data, when you are working with line charts. This becomes very important. You see these things in blue, right? Every session, I guess I've discussed this once. You see these things in blue, and then the below things in green. Right now, the blue and green basically is the differentiation between continuous and discrete. It has nothing to do with dimensions and measurements. Blue and green color denote, colored the scheme. Schema doesn't apply to the dimensions or measurements. Like why I'm talking about it. I can always convert a dimension into measure. Maybe the value is wrong, maybe the value will be wrong, but I can always do it. If I do it like see, what happens is by default it takes category count, because count of category is something that can be done I'm using a dimension, correct? It has. This blue and green has nothing to do with the dimensions or measurements. Rather, they say that these are discrete values because if I pull, they are segmented, and these are continuous values because if I pull, it comes as an aggregate. It comes as an aggregate, one value, or by as a chart. It comes as one chart and not a different thing. This shows that this is a different thing altogether. This shows that these values in blue are discrete values. These in green are continuous values. That is basically the entire inference. The colors. Always remember that the color schema has nothing to do with dimensions and measurements. Likewise, once you divide things into say, I'll take order date and I take sales. And now if I drill down, what happens? Is this market or not? Market the year. Markets like this gets together. But then 2011 analysis and 2014 analysis has nothing in common between them, because in discrete charts, what happens is everything gets divided, and the first chart and the last chart has no relation between them. And they are individual silos in which data basically comes up, and you cannot do that. Say now we have this data, right? Say I remove. I had drilled down the markets like this, right? Like the sum of sales and not markets. But I've drilled down the sum of sales by year, quarter and month. Now, what is our aim now? Our aim basically over here is to understand discrete and continuous graphs. Correct. What is discrete, which gets divided? What is continuous, which gets aggregated like one single line graph, which is showing me all the information in there. That is it, right? Now I have seen something that if I remove, say if I remove here and if I remove quarter from here, now see, despite of being, uh, a discrete field, it is still discrete, right? It is not continuous, it is discrete. Despite of being a discrete field, it gives me a chart which is almost similar to a continuous chart because it has no segments. It is. One single line that is going up and down and showing performance. But then there is one more challenge to it. That is, it gives me an aggregated data for January. Now, if you go over here, what happens? It tells you that January had a sales of 6,75,000 whatever, or March is giving me this much of data. What is the challenge over here? What is the challenge? Do you see in this April 698561? No, what is the challenge? What is it missing? We don't know for which year this sales is, right? We don't know if it is for 2011 or to like. If I drag this back, I have 11, 12, 13 and 14, right? But if I remove this, I have data only for Jan, Feb, March, April, July, August, like this, correct? But I don't know which year this is for. You can mute yourself. We don't know that for which year things are. That's basically one hindrance. And this is not interpreting the data correctly, correct? If I want over here to know what is happening, then I need to again go back and place the year. But that is not something that I want to. What I want is a continuous line, and along with it, what I want is all the information together. Right? What will I do? Oh, sorry, let me know. What we will do is, we will once. Oh nice, only that I chose. Once you choose this by default, you will get this discrete line. You need to make it continuous in order to see the data as a one continuous thing. Now, how to do that? On year pill, go and right click. And as you right click, as you right click, you see two segments, which is allowing me to convert. This year can be covered this year or this year, but always remember the first box which lets you convert things is for discrete. The second box is for continuous. The first box that lets you change is for the discrete values. The second things are for continuous. Now let me do something. Let me choose the year from the continuous box, and once I choose this, you see there is a visible difference in your data right now. See now what happens. Let me know. Now what happens is, you see, there is a visible change in your data whereby the year is now converted to continuous, right? If I choose it to quarter and if I choose 2 months now, you will see that what happens is now as we drill it down, if I put my cursor on any point, unlike the other graph that we saw now, We know that, like if I put something over here now, I know that December 2011 had sales of this much, right, for each node. Now you can see here month and sales in the same node. And that is basically the beauty of continuous line graphs. Once you have created the date thing into continuous, what happens is it basically gives you all the information that you desire throughout, and it gives you not only the year but also the month and the sales that has happened for the particular time, the year. That's how we do continuous and discrete line graphs. What did we learn in this entire segment? We learned that how to create line graphs, how to modify a default graph into a line graph. We saw the detailed view of a graph using the categories and markets, and then we saw how to create continuous and discrete graphs for our benefit and for whenever we need whatever for that. We saw that the line graph, which basically was bifurcated into segments, and then it is aggregated, and it gives me all the, not only the trend, but also it gives me the entire details in the node voices, right? Cool. That's all about line graphs. Next, let us learn something, which is a very important tool that Tableau has provided us with, and that is called a reference line in the language. Can we have forecasting or trend? What kind of trend or forecasting are you interested in? For example, if we say like this one also, we can take example, the sales is happening for November 2013, right? Based on the previous 3 to 4 months, can we calculate the future dates? Can we calculate future? Forecasting definitely you can do, but then forecasting in Tableau you want to do, or forecasting you want to do in any other domain, like you get the data in Tableau itself. Right now you have a line chart. In this line chart itself, can we have that one, like a trend analysis, like a future dates? See, one thing that we can do is reference lines, and we can see that how are things. That was the next topic that I wanted to see. I have not worked on forecasting in Tableau. I have worked on forecasting in Python, but not in Tableau. I'm not very sure, but I need to get back to you on this. Out of the box is available, or we have to do some coding in it. That's what, I have done forecasting in Python, but I'm not sure if it has a default feature of forecasting. I need to check that, and I need to let you know tomorrow. Sure, cool. You can definitely do it using a code. You can do it elsewhere because you get the data from here and you can do it. One more thing is it plays that is Datorama and also Datorama. Basically, can do the forecasting models we can create forecasting models in Datorama. If we do that, what happens is, we can create the forecasting thing and we can publish it over to Tableau as a chart, as a dashboard, whatever we want to. We can do thinking that I have all done the forecasting. But the problem, what happened for me is that it's not sure that, for example, take past 6 months data as a reference. It's not showing the past 6 month data in the same chart, whether the forecasting was correct or not. Analysis like that only showing the only forecasting line. That's the problem. You mean the trend lines. Trend. I would say forecasting on the trend line, but it was only showing one line. For example, if I put a 6-month, previous 6 months in one of the chart, and if I put a if it takes 6 months, then it will only show the only one line showing the trend lines. But it's not taking it's not showing the past 6 months which I taking as a reference. In the same time, do you have it open in your laptop now? No. It was my all this which I have worked on me. Oh, and you did it using Tableau or any other stuff. Tableau itself, Tableau itself. Oh, no one chart itself. We can get two graphs like in the data and the 10 trend line itself. That's it. Oh, I remember you. I remember you. You had asked this question earlier as well, right? Datorama also. In Datorama as well. Right? I remember you. Let me see, let me check if we can do something like that. And if I get hold of anything like this, I'll pass on the content to you, or else we will discuss in the session. Sure. Say, what are reference lines? Reference lines is a very important tool. Reference line is a very important tool which lets us compare the values which are greater than or less than, right? For example, if we have, say, sales and I want to see sales which are above average and below average. I want to see, I want to see that. What is the average sales? This is the average sales. Now I want to see my what's a category. Whatever category or subcategory, whatever what are the categories which are doing above average, and what are the things which are going below average. We can do that using reference lines, and we can check that. In the reference tab, as he mentioned about already the analytics tab, we have the reference line, reference band, distribution band, and box plotting. Box plotting, we have seen how we do it. Box plotting, you remember initially when I was talking about box plotting, I told you that it is used for distributions. Then we have something called a distribution band over here. Reference line is a very important tool. For why? Because as I'll not say very high funder tool are these but these are very important, because let's see why it is important and how it is important. Rather, let me take category over here, and let me take a subcategory over here, and let me bring in sales. What do we see? We see our furniture, office supplies, and technology. Those are the categories. And then I have the subcategories over here, and I see the labeling. That is being done. Now what do we want? We want to have the reference line because we are interested in the average. You see this axis. In this axis, you can just click and you can right click and you will get one option called Add Reference Line. Let me click on Add Reference Line. Now, when I'm in the Add Reference Line, what I can see is there are these things: line band, distributions, and box plotting. And what do I see? There is something called a scope, that is entire table per pane. What is a pane? This furniture box that you see. This is called a pane, and this category that you see over here is a pane. Technology is a pane. These are panes. What is it telling? Entire table per pane or per cell. If we choose entire table, and then what is the water? What are the options over here? The options are that what line do you want? You want a line. I know what line do you want over here. By default, it is selected as sales average. You can modify it to whatever you want, to total sub constant minimum. But over here I'm interested in average. I'll take an average and let me hit an. Now what happens is this line basically gives me what is the average sales and what are the things which are above and what are the subcategories that are below the average. Correct? Next, when I have this average line. Next, if someone comes to me and says that you know what I want to see, the over here it is written as average. I've rather than average, I want to see, the value. What is there, and I want to see that. What you can do is you can go to this label which is called computation. Now, when you see this average line, it is in a computation mode. If you go over here and choose value and hit you see the average is gone, and now we know that 7,436, 6,77 is my average, and these are the categories, and these are the categories that have gone beyond, and these are the ones which are below that, and we can know that. What are the things that we need to focus on, and what are the things that we need to look into and see how it works? Right? Let me further modify it. We have seen computation and values. Now there is one more thing whereby we can see that what type of line we want. This is a plain line. You can choose a broken line, however you wish to thickness, and all these things you can work on, and you can see how it works. Now, if I want to highlight, whatever is above average and whatever is below average, for that also we have this formatting option which basically gives us, the color schema in which you can color things. If I do a fill above, what happens is everything above. Oh my god, this is a terrible color. No, this is soothing. Whatever is above average, see, gets highlighted, and you can see that. These are the things which are above average, and these are the things which are below average, right? This is a color donation. Colored by color, you can denote what are the things that are above average and what are the things that are below. That's how you can format, and that's how you can use a reference line. Now you see that all the panes have one line that is going through them. If you want, average per category that you have, what you need to do is you need to go and you need to edit reference line, and what you can do is you can change it to per pane. Now, if you do a per pane, you see that every pane now has its own average. Furniture has its own average. Offices, supplies has its own average. Technology has its own average. And now things are colored by means of the categories because we have chosen per pane. In this furniture pane, if you see, this is the average and things above them are colored in whatever beige. Or this is what? Cream yellowish color, light yellow color. That you see, that is basically over here and now. Not all the things have the same average, but all the panes have their own averages. And things beyond that or below that are colored by means of the rule above average and below average. Right? That's how you can use reference lines. It's really important. It's pretty interesting a tool, and it is really important that we can. We use them in our regular data, that our life is easy now with calculated fields. Of course, you can create averages and stuffs. But then, once you have this, Why to worry about it? Let's look into reference bands. Let's look at what is the reference band now. Now, as the name suggests, it is a band which basically helps us locate things using a color schema, right? If I choose a band and say for entire table, and now what is it telling me that band from and band to correct? What I want is sum of sales in both the thing. But I want a reference band. And now to have this band, I need to have some parameters, right? That what on? What parameters will it create the band? Say in band from, I choose sum of sales and I do an average that is from average to maximum. I want to create the band. Oh, I choose white. Now see what happens. This is your average, right? You see this line you. This is much more clear. What have I have chosen over here? As my reference band, I have chosen from average of sum of sales, highlight till maximum of sum of sales. See what happens is from average to maximum. It has created this band and it has highlighted the ones that we wanted to be able to change it. Correct, correct, correct. Let's change it maybe from minimum till average. See now what happens from minimum, whatever the minimum is to C, because this is the lowest bar, right? Now when we choose minimum, what happens? It is choosing the minimum using the last or the least bar that is there, and it is creating an average because this is the lowest value in the chart altogether, correct? This and everything that comes in between, and then it is creating a minimum average. This is basically the minimum and this is your average, and we have used a reference band. What it does is it creates one band over here using this pretty simple and but pretty effective visuals. I'll say whenever you're creating visuals, if you have something like this and then you have your value, say your labels, where what is it subcategory now, and you put it like this, you can now have, like, you cannot tell basically that these are the ones which are underperforming paper labels, blah blah blah, whatever is there, and these are the ones that needs needs to be looked at. These are the ones not like generally the lower ones. These are the ones that needs to be looked at because these are falling behind, and you can show it to your end user and they can take an action on it. Based on these coloring schema and this average and using reference names, pretty important, I'll say like if you basically see it from the minimum to an average, they can actually take a strategic thing, the minimum to an average, and then you can see it in the same way. Now the third one is distribution. Correct. Now I get reference line. What are those? I'll remove reference line. I'll remove this now. The third is distribution. How distributions work now. Distributions by default, like whenever you have distributions, it basically means that you can divide your sales percentage wise. Whatever your sales are, you can divide it percentage wise. That is, if you see by default. Again, it has entire table per pane and all these things. Now that you know these, what are these? Now under computation, you will see 60%, 80% of average. What it does in the chart, it highlights 60%, 80% and everything in between. Say suppose I want to change it. I want to see 50% and 100%. What I'll do is I'll remove this. I'll write 50, 100 and see what happens is 50% and 100% of average gets highlighted. And if you see you can do this. And now, if you want to see values over here, what you can do is you can edit the reference line over here in distribution. You can choose computation and you can put value. Now you see what happens is it gets changed to values over here and you can exactly know what is my 50% of average value, what is the 100% of average value in there. You can see what happens is the number and you can see what happens is the number and you can see what happens is the number and the band is created easy. We will see these other things whenever we are doing. You know these are nothing, but you can just pull them into a bar chart and you can yourself see. But then we will discuss it in the next phase when we are there. That is a different topic altogether. We will see what happens again. Now let's look at after referencing reference, after we have seen what is reference lines. Let's create a bubble chart. Bubble chart is a fairly easy chart that gets created. That is called a bubble chart. And we can see how we can do it. Now let me go to show me first. Let me go to bubble chart and see what is the requirement. For a packed up bubble, you need to have one or more dimensions and one or two measures. I am creating one, but then we will discuss it. Oh, if you have seen a bubble chart, let me and see. See, what should I say? Say order, priority and sales. Let me choose this now. This is how a bubble chart looks like now over here. Why I created one is to make you understand that the circles that you see represents the dimension. Basically, this order priority, critical, high, low, medium. The circles show the dimensions and the size of the circles tells you the measures. I'm clear. What is it? Green overhead shows us medium. Basically, green is medium, blue is critical, correct? This is your dimension and the size of the thing determines the measure volume. Why is green circle the most? Because the sales over here is the most. Why is low? What is red? Red circle. That is low. That is your dimension. But why is this least? Because the value of sales is least. Circles represent the dimensions and the size represents the measures. Size of medium is higher. That's because the order priority, I have chosen order priority right. That is because order priority, like medium, basically has order priority maximum. because it has got maximum number of orders for this priority, and lowest is basically low. As its order priority numbers are huge, the bubble is also huge, correct? What do we know from here in bubble chart? That we need to have one or more dimensions and one or two measures. Now, how do you create a bubble chart? Let's create a different bubble chart. What you can do is, rather than dragging stuff over here, you can choose this and you can choose sales. Like I'm holding my control key, right? I'm holding my control key, and now when I choose both the things, I get in suggestion. I can go over here and I can choose this. What do we see over here? We see that highest sales was done by a pack. It's done a pack, and you know lowest sales for Canada. That's how you can do it. Now say I want to remove this, and let me select market and profit and create up this. I can see that with profit, I can have the pack and you, and everything is like this. With profit, we can see that, Europe and a pack are almost similar. Now, when you have a situation whereby you know a pack and say Europe, say this is visually, I can say that this is a bit. You know this is a bigger circle altogether, but then that is not the scene. The scene is that I don't know like how much of that thing is coming. For that time, what we will do is you can either take profits into the label or you can take sales into the label as well. And you will see that sales and profit both are more. For this thing, the APAC region, and we can very well say that this is how you gauge the performance of a region, right? Likewise, you can take category and sales and you can create this sales. Now, let me show you something now over here as well. See, it's almost as if it is identical. At that point of time, you can just take sales to labels and you know that how things are, and you can tell what is happening now, suppose. Now there are times whereby you should avoid some charts, things like that. You can take a lot of things and you can see it's not going to be able to do. And you can see it's not going to be able to do. Let's see what happens if you create a bubble chart like this, as the value of things are pretty high in a certain column. I won't be able to know what are happening in those lower bubbles, and it will be very difficult for me to understand or to read the chart. Likewise, you need to always know what chart is to be used from these options and what things are needed to be at this time. We know that there won't be any option to zoom in, right? No, there will be. Like you can very well increase size and stuffs over here, but point is not. That point is like zooming is not something that you are going to like. If it is a dashboard which consists of many things, many dashboards, many things together, zooming is not a representation. It is a feature that you are adding to the chart. Correct. That is not something that you want to do because there are other charts available for you. This is not. Like, wherever you have huge number of values, as in country is a component like which is being distributed across, rather than that category, subcategory, market. These are very low, like low data in them. Bubble chart is always preferable, and whenever you create a visual, make sure that your visual is viewable without doing anything like I add a filter, I add a parameter, I add various types of dynamic filters. That is different. That is getting filtered. But if this is all, this is like this is the chart. And if you say, if you take this like this, what happens? See the ones which are having the high performance. It gets shown. Is it not getting shown? It is. But then you know you need to click or you need to go and this is not the right representation. Wherever there is a large component, you need to always avoid that and you need to use an alternative chart for that. Because one doubt here, no doubt, can we do that like that. For example, if we have, say, we have two regions apart and EMEA. I will take some of the resources. If the resources are common among both, can we represent in the bubble chart like overlapping, like inner join? Now tell me what. Here, if you take central and south, if we have a common data between central and south, will it overlap like in the chart? Wise overlap like inner join, showing that common factors there. No, a common factor as in. I don't understand there. If there is a common factor between both the things, then that will be a separate thing altogether, which is not here, which should be in your data. Now see sales. Now sales for central is always for central, right? That is unique to central. My data like this, for example, if central have 5 resources, not the sales, and south have 10 resources, but south consists of the 5 resources which have central. Also have no in bubble chart. That will not overlap in bubble chart. It will be always in single silos. Whatever is central, that will be central. Whatever is south, it will be south. Now, overlap is something that you need to deal in your data. If you see something like this, that is an overlap, then you should mention it as I don't know, Central Asia or something, and you need to join it because this won't take the overlapping thing, because this is not analyzing data in that front, right? It is just taking a dimension and a value in there. Whatever you have segregated for in your data, that will be shown up. If you have merged together something, that will be shown up as a single thing. But you can do something about it. You can do something about it. You can do a merging of things and you can show it in the sheet as well. If your data is not like that, you remember we had merged two things together when we were doing a bar chart, see Africa, and that I got it, but out of the box. I think the answer to my question is not available. Like if you want to merge and showcase us as a common factor of their data into the dashboard, that is not available out of the box, I guess. Right? What do you mean out of the box, right? Like out of the box means something innovative, at least what I understand. Out of the box means you want to. What are you actually referring to? Without any scripting or coding, using the only options within the Tableau. No, but. Again, I'll look into it, but that is not something that will happen. I'm sure, pretty much sure, because bubble chart is going to take single silos and it will see. Because it is giving you this bubble based on a value, based on the volume of the value. It is not analyzing what is overlapping or what is not overlapping. It is giving the volume. That's how it is projecting the bubble, and it is giving you the dimension, which is basically the coloring of the circle and stuff. It is not going to do this tricky stuff. In bubble chart scripting, definitely in scripting you can do these things, but over here it won't happen. You know you should explore high charts. There is something. Did I show high charts in the Datorama session? You have told about high charts and I have gone one to them. High chart is pretty interesting And for all these queries that you are having now, I guess high chart is going to help you much with it. We will end with a simple chart, but a very effective chart. I'll say that is time period analysis. Now time period analysis, not the one. Like the hypothesis and scripting that we do. It's a time period analysis, which is called a bump chart. Get it right? It's a bump chart. What is a bump chart? Bump chart is nothing but a line chart where rank changes based on time. Let's see how it works. Basically, a bump chart categorizes your lines and it shows the changes based on the time. It's a time series analysis of your line charts. As we say, as we say that the chart, that whatever chart you choose, say, I want to say, suppose, look at market and sales. And if I want to look into these, the changes in sales based on the rankings of the market. This basically is again, I will just repeat once, sir. It's a line chart where rank changes based on time. There are three components that are to be considered while creating this bump chart. One line chart, second ranking, third time. When we have these three components with us, let's drag in for the time component. That is not the time component. This is the time component. The time component I dragged in, that is order state, measure into rows, and then let us drag in market into colors. I have the data for all the markets correct. What happens is my line chart is created. Now what I want to do is I want to not see the charts based on the sales numbers, but I want to rank these ones. How do I rank the markets? I have to go to sales, put a right click, quick table calculations, which we have done earlier, and I'll choose rank. As I rank it, what happens is it basically has a rank, but it is now computing the chart based on the default things. But I don't want it to compute on default things. I want it to rank on the market based what I'll do. I have to go to sales, I have to do a right click again, and what I'll do is compute using table across. I will change it to market. Now the bump chart gets created. How do we read this chart? How do we read this chart? Like this, say the market 5, basically say EMEA, this is EMEA market. EMEA market was fifth in the rank, but then it rank along, sales changed, its sales changed to this and it became the sixth market. It is basically how the performance is. That's how it is ranking it, and it is showing how does your market rank and where did it go based on the time or based on the year in this case. That's how it is. Now I want to differentiate it. My sales is still in continuous. Let me make it discrete. Once I make it discrete, what happens? The line graph goes away, but always it is available from the automatic, and if you do this automatic, your line graph comes back. Understood? This is the rank of the things, and it basically shows you that based on time, based on your sales, where did this market go now? This market was in 6, it went to 5th by performance, and then again in 14, it has come in 6th. That's how a bump chart works. It is basically a line chart which ranks your dimension and shows the performance over a period of time. Cool, easy. This is pretty easy, but very effective, like when people want to see the performances. It is basically very easy to show. I know this looks like a rangoli, but then it is something which is to be used always in a discrete manner, and whenever used in a discrete manner, it tells a lot of story behind. We can add labels right here. You can add everything, whatever you want to, whatever you want to see for yourself. Say markets. If you want to see, you can very well bring the markets over here and you can add the labels. But of course, you know your dimension of sales is categorized to rank. Don't expect that it will show up that, because it is a rank based thing, right? We have to see ranks. It is computing your sales and it is ranking. That's why, the labels will be very discrete in nature. But if I put sales in text, it should be showing me the overall sales as well. It is showing me the overall sales as well, and you can see this. Clear now? If you go to any of the nodes, you can see as well that. Why did it change? Because say it was 6th market, because the sales was 14481. It rose to 5th because it has improved on its sales. Then, it has again gone to 6th because some other market had done a good performance that had gone there, and this has come down. Can we download this data in a FISA Lexa format? This chart data, you can say, you can always download it as from here, or else you can download it from your I've never exported data. That is a good question that you're throwing in data. Do we export over here? No view data? You can download it. Yes, cool. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.